Iran is dying to make a deal. I can only tell you that.
President Trump still predicts the Iran conflict will end with diplomacy. But Friday marks 60 days since the first airstrikes. That's the deadline for the administration to withdraw or ask Congress for approval to continue military operations. But now the White House says the conflict has already been, quote, terminated because of the ceasefire in place while talks continue.
They want to make a deal badly. We have a problem because nobody knows for sure who the leaders are.
Democrats on Capitol Hill aren't buying that claim, pointing out Iran is maintaining its chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz, while U.S. forces tighten their blockade on Iranian ports. Lawmakers grilled Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth about that issue on Thursday.
We can try and tell the American people that it's going great and we're killing it, but until the Strait of Hormuz is open, I don't think we can credibly say that with any seriousness.
The biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless naysayers and defeatist words of congressional Democrats.
It comes as the president is reportedly moving closer to resuming airstrikes against Iran if talks remain stalled. Meanwhile, oil prices continue climbing, and the UN is warning it could create a humanitarian crisis on a global scale.
And we confront the specter of a global recession with dramatic impacts on people, on the economy, and on political and social stability.
The White House says it considered the conflict suspended back on April 7th. That's the day the ceasefire went into effect. In Dubai, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
After the Supreme Court struck down Louisiana's current district lines, the state is postponing its U.S. House primaries this month to redraw congressional maps. The races will still be on ballots, but any votes in those elections won't count.
They've determined that the last map that was drawn for Louisiana was done unconstitutionally, and we've been saying that consistently from the beginning.
The state's Republican leaders said they plan to pass new voting districts by the end of the month, though critics warn the move will diminish minority representation.
I think this is a real dark period in our state, in our country's history. We are not post-racial.
Florida lawmakers have already approved a new congressional map. Mississippi and Alabama are also making plans to apply the new ruling. But with potential legal challenges, the impact likely won't be felt until 2028.
It should lead to much more competitive districts in the South, because Republicans used to have an interest in this, too, because it would compact Democrat voters into cities and let the suburbs be more Republican.
And it's not just red states. In a post on X, New York Governor Kathy Hochul said she will work with the state legislature to make changes to the redistricting process, adding, quote, so we can fight back against Washington's attempt to rig our democracy. Florida's new map is expected to take effect before the midterms, since the primaries here are in August. In Tallahassee, Dana Marie McNichol, Fox News.
Federal investigators are now poring over the surveillance video they say shows Cole Allen sprinting through metal detectors with a shotgun on his way to try to kill the president Saturday night. A key question, who fired the shot that hit a Secret Service officer? Was it Allen or was it friendly fire? The ballistics report will be the next key step of the investigation. The video is also being examined to measure the security planning and response of those standing guard outside the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Every frame is being reviewed, from the point where a police dog seems to key in on the door where Allen entered, to how close he got to the president and top officials inside the ballroom before tripping. Prosecutors have also released video of Allen walking the halls of the Hilton Hotel the night before the dinner. Allen remains behind bars under 24/7 lockdown. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
The cost of gas in the U.S. hits a high not seen in almost half a decade.
I used to fill it up with 60, 80 bucks. Now I'm looking at between 130, 150.
After sliding down slightly for nearly 2 weeks earlier this month, the national average shot up almost 30 cents over the past few days, according to AAA.
People are suffering, that's for sure. I get a lot of people coming in, with $5 or $10, and that's all they can afford.
These increases are especially tough for workers who use their vehicles to get products from point A to point B.
We try to strategize our deliveries to make sure that we're planning efficient routes and not doubling back on things so we can be as efficient as possible. But yeah, it obviously costs more to fill up the tank every time.
Some Americans are trying to save money by taking public transportation.
When fuel prices go up, we see more people taking transit because it's the most affordable way to get to where they need to go.
On Thursday, President Donald Trump said gas prices will fall once the war with Iran is over.
It'll drop like a rock. There's so much of it. It's all over the place, sitting all over the oceans of the world. And it'll go down.
But in the meantime, commuters will have to deal with paying more at the pump.
Gas is not a nice to have, it's a need to have.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Every first day of May, streets and cities around the world are filled with marches, rallies, and people carrying signs recognizing International Workers' Day, also known as May Day. But what exactly is May Day, and when did it begin? The roots of the holiday can be traced back to over a century ago to 1886, when the Knights of Labor, the largest workers' union in the US, called for a nationwide strike starting on May 1st. The goal? To secure an 8-hour workday, especially for factory workers.
This had been a long-standing demand for workers who often worked 10, 12, even 14 hours a day on the job.
4 days into the strike, a group of workers called for a rally in Haymarket Square, on Chicago's west side. By around 10 o'clock that evening, a line of policemen was approaching what was left of the gathering.
And as they were moving down the street in this line of policemen, somebody threw a bomb, homemade bomb, into the line of policemen.
The chaotic violence which ensued afterwards killed 7 policemen and 4 people in the crowd. 8 strike leaders were convicted and 4 were sentenced to be hanged.
And it was 2 years after that event that then the kind of international socialist movement, which was a very, very important movement in the late 19th century across the industrial world, declared May Day as a day of worker solidarity and action in memory of what had happened in the Haymarket crisis in Chicago.
With labor and immigrant rights historically intertwined, the focus of modern May Day rallies have an added element.
Let's do it! Let's transform the country!
In the United States today, there is a really dramatic mounting concern, not simply in organized labor, but with millions and millions of Americans, about the breadth of American inequality. But that core principle is the very definition of a labor movement, that you have obligations to each other.
I applied for my renewal November 22nd, 2025, and my work permit and DACA expired April 1st, 2026. So I had to take an unpaid leave of absence with work. And so we're still waiting. There's been no update and just waiting on my renewal to get approved. We haven't had any interruption, and so now I feel like it's definitely impacted me financially the hardest. I'm having to use all my savings for my rent, for my bills. I also have a daughter in college, and so I am putting her as a single mom through her first year of college. Tuition is due in August. My savings is for this tuition that now I'm using to pay rent and everyday essentials.
Since last year, we're seeing an uptick in delays of DACA renewal application processing. We're seeing this go from what usually would take a month or two to taking 5, 6, even 8 months sometimes. The concerted effort to end DACA is really tied to the mass deportation agenda, right? Lately, we've seen the escalation of it, not just with the delays, but with the detention and deportation of DACA recipients. They have detained, just last year, 343 DACA recipients with valid status.
You know, everything that's on the news that has been about immigration makes me scared because I'm an immigrant. For the DACA community specifically, I definitely think that because of the delays, we feel unprotected at all costs. We feel scared.
We're going to be extending employee pricing on new vehicles to the public. So what does that mean? It means customers will have the ability to pay what a Ford employee pays, which really shows how much we value our customers as our own family. Our promotion will run from May 1st through July 6th, so we'll run it through the 4th of July weekend. And yes, coming into the May, June, July time period tends to be a very good time to buy a vehicle. So it was less about the macroeconomic environment and more around what we could do to celebrate the 250 years of American history. Well, we're very aware of the overall environment that our customers are dealing with and the average American customer is dealing with. That's why it's so important for us to have such a wide range of vehicles in our offering. And really, you know, whether you're shopping for a vehicle around $30,000 or $50,000 or $70,000, each one of our vehicles have different price bands.
These drones will deliver medical care faster and cheaper, potentially saving lives in the process.
At a test site in Missouri, a new kind of medical delivery system is taking off. The goal is to use drones to speed up the distribution of medical care, things like blood for testing, lab samples needed for a diagnosis, or tissue used to help match organ donors with recipients.
If you want to load up the cargo bay, all you do is flip open this door. You then have your sample box. Fits nice in there. It's very essential. I've heard instances of if you miss sample time, like sample pickup is 5 p.m. on Tuesday. If you miss that time, it's another week.
Federal data shows more than 130 rural hospitals closed between 2010 and 2021, pushing some patients to travel 20 extra miles even for basic care and potentially life-altering procedures.
There's a lack of hospitals in rural areas, lack of doctors, and when you're looking at things like transplants, speed is an issue.
Flights are monitored in real time with live maps, weather tools, and air traffic data.
This is the RPS station. So this is what the pilot sees whenever the aircraft is actually in flight.
The company says the drone can fly about 100 miles per hour with a proposed route in Missouri connecting Springfield, Rolla, and the St. Louis region.
We're going to be moving lab samples, serology samples, any types of samples, all the way from point A to point B along this path.
Medical drone programs are starting to pop up more, and tech leaders at Missouri S&T say they joined this project because of what it could mean for the future of healthcare access.
I think it's maybe the first step in a lot of possible things moving from one place to another in the healthcare industry.
This will be the easternmost drop point for these drones come late summer when they hope to officially get these started. In St. Albans, Missouri, Oliviana Calmes, Fox News.
Build-A-Bear recalling about 36,000 plush bears due to a potential choking hazard. Its heartwarming Hugs Bear features a side pouch containing a heart filled with 2.5 pounds of ceramic beads that can be heated or cooled, according to the CPSC. The slider on the zipper securing the pouch can detach, posing a choking hazard. Apple sales jumped in the recent quarter as more of its customers upgraded to the iPhone 17. Revenue from iPhones rose more than 21% in the period. Apple's CEO Tim Cook says iPhone 17 is now the most popular lineup in the tech giant's history. And the future of Live Golf is in jeopardy as Saudi Arabia pulls funding for the Pro Golf League after 4 seasons. President Trump now says he thinks the PGA Tour will welcome back the players.
I do believe that all of the golfers should be playing, the great golfers should be playing against each other. Now they'll all be accepted by the tour, there's no question, because they're great.
Among the golf stars in limbo following Liv's announcement are Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, and Bryson DeChambeau, who did not apply for reinstatement by the February deadline with the PGA Tour. CJ Papa, Fox News.
It wasn't until late August that Carrie Nasta says she finally found out she has endometriosis.
Unfortunately, for many years, I went undiagnosed and suffered in silence, really.
Nasta says she had painful periods, extreme inflammation, and was always uncomfortable during her menstrual cycle, but she thought that was all normal.
It wasn't until I went through some pregnancy losses and infertility struggles that I finally said, I need to get this checked out.
At New York Gynecology Surgery and Endometriosis, Nasta says she not only had surgery to help with symptoms, but was also put on GLP-1 medications.
Honestly, it was within 2 weeks that I felt some relief.
Right now, various GLP-1 drugs are FDA approved for diabetes control, weight management, and to reduce risk of cardiovascular events, but the drugs can reduce chronic inflammation throughout the body.
People started thinking outside the box, hey, could these help another inflammatory disease such as endometriosis?
Nasta's doctors say GLP-1 medications can also reverse progesterone resistance. That's when the uterine lining doesn't properly respond to the hormone and often leads to hormonal treatment failure in their patients.
We see clinically as a physician that it does work.
Nasta is hoping GLP-1s will also help her metabolic health, which she hopes will allow her to one day start a family.
I do believe with continued intervention and supports, I will get there.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
So this is our asthmatic herd. They're all here because they've developed equine asthma. They're helping us to develop new treatments to help other horses with equine asthma.
So asthma turns out is very common in horses. In our studies, we found that 80% of racehorses have low-grade asthma. So what has been unique in our approach is really to understand the triggers of that mild form of asthma in horses. And the way we're able to do that is by developing some new tools to detect actually dust level in horses in real time. Turn on the camera so we can see what they are doing and what they are eating. And then at the same time, if we're interested in the level of dust, we can actually look at the little LED panel there that tells us. So the other thing that we thought about is essentially to develop a dust mask for horses, something that they could wear, but that would not cover their mouth, so they can still eat their hay, etc., but it would filter the air they breathe and take out the excess dust, so they don't have, the reaction and the asthma that they normally would have otherwise. Is that good? Thank you. So what we found with our studies in horses with asthma is that consuming a certain amount of fish oil, on a daily basis really was very helpful to return horses to normal lung health and airway health. I think that reinforces some of the data that showed that also people consuming, not just fish oil, but also fish per se, especially fish that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, so it's the salmon and mackerel and anchovies and things like that. It is also very helpful to help humans with asthma.
Olivia Rodrigo shouldn't be bored for long. The Grammy-winning singer-songwriter has announced a 65-date concert tour launching September 25th in Hartford, Connecticut, and spanning North America and Europe. The Unraveled tour is in support of her third studio album, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love. Concert tickets go on sale May 7th, and the album drops June 12th.
Do you believe in magic?
Honestly, since I first walked into your office, I believe in everything.
No fooling around at the office.
Never at the office.
If we got caught, it could destroy everything I've built.
CEO Jennifer Lopez and lawyer Brett Goldstein risk it all in Office Romance. Can this workplace relationship flourish, especially when both people are workaholics? Netflix just released the first trailer for the rom-com, which debuts on the streamer June 5th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
What's happening? What's with your outfit? It's super cute!
Release!
I got superpowers! My Hero Academia goes mobile.
character skins from the hit anime franchise are now available in Brawl Stars. The limited time event runs now through May 5th. Brawl Stars is available through the App Store and Google Play. It's time to catch them all yet again. The Pokemon Company International has released the latest update for the Pokemon TCG Pocket mobile app. The Pulsing Aura expansion includes new cards and the ability to craft a special gold frame for collecting 10 duplicates of the same card. And there's a new pet simulation game out now. Bobo Bay lets players collect, breed, and train little creatures for competitions. The game is available for PC through the Steam game service. Leveling Up in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Oh my God, it's coming for you! Run! Run, go! A pair of California surfers have a whale of a tale and the video to back it up after they say a curious shark chased one of them for over a mile. Tavis Boise and his friend Ron Takeda were hydrofoil surfing off the California coast when Boise says they glided over a shark, apparently sparking its curiosity because it began closely following Takeda and didn't stop, Boise says, for more than a mile. Boise watched as the shark, which he says was roughly 10 to 11 feet long, tailed his buddy before eventually losing interest. Boise said Takeda performed amazingly in the tense situation and also said sharks are cool animals, which, if treated respectfully, will leave you alone. But if you glide right over them, they may become curious. Curiosities have been piqued in the San Francisco Bay Area by a big fat sea lion gone viral for his big fat booty. Hey, sorry buddy, but it's true. Still rude. This is Chonkers, an enormous 2,000-pound stellar sea lion that, according to KGO, earned his nickname after showing up and showing out on San Fran's famous Pier 39, dwarfing his blubbery sunbathing brethren. But harbor officials say Chonkers is no Bay Area newbie.
He's been coming and going for the last 15 years, and this is the longest we've ever seen him stay.
And look, there's no body shaming here. The stellar species is significantly larger than typical California sea lions, so looky-loos are understandably going bonkers for Chonkers, flocking to marvel at the majestic mass of this lovable, dock-rockin', blubber-luggin' Bay Area chubby bubba. It's mostly water weight, so there. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Where we've chosen to bury my mom and my brother is what they call in the meadow area. So you won't see a bunch of headstones, you won't see hardly any man-made anything. So it's very natural.
Green burial is the practice of burying our loved ones. It's an option for death care without embalming fluid, without the construction material involved in constructing vaults for each grave site, without the harmful pesticides and herbicides that maintain the lawn park model of a cemetery. It's essentially the organic option for death care. I think that we've had this sense for a couple of generations now that the ecological footprint of our burial practices is excessive and unnecessary. And I think that's driving a lot of people to find solutions to that problem. You can take that a step further with conservation burial, where you're not necessarily just making an ecological choice or ensuring that your last parting gesture isn't necessarily like an assault on the earth or isn't polluting the earth in an unnecessary way, but actually then your parting gesture for the earth is a gift of conservation, is a gift of habitat conservation and restoration in this case.
I think it's really important to realize how ingrained our recent tradition of conventional burial has become, and we're kind of reframing what respect is and what dignity is, and how to honor somebody's wishes in a natural way.
I like the cleanliness of it, environmentally. Not a big environmentalist guy, but I also believe we can all do a little bit better. And the idea of life begets new life, meaning a tree on top of my mom or my brother, through their death, life continues. And I just think that's a really cool idea.
There have been things I wanted to share with them about their grandchildren that they didn't get to experience on this side in human form, and I just, I do get emotional about that, but they're also their legacy, and so I just want to let them know what's going on.
I find when I use it how wonderful it is to actually dial it and hear that sound, and then you just talk and let your words be carried by the wind. I hope they leave a little lighter, a little bit more connected, and a little bit with a feeling that they're not alone in the world.
Fox 54 Plus has your news, sports, and weather. Start your evening with Fox 54 at 5:30, delivering the latest headlines and live reports straight from the scene. Then stay informed with Fox 54 News at 9. Featuring your Tennessee Valley certified most accurate weather impact team, tracking everything from tornado threats to traffic delays during severe weather. Fox 54 Sports Extra brings you more of what sports fans crave, with deeper insights, expert analysis, and all the action that matters most. On Fox 54 Plus, you'll also find Alabama politics, plus 24/7 weather radar and real-time forecasts to keep you ahead of the storm. Looking for a quick recap? Don't miss Fox 54 Week in Review, highlighting the biggest stories of the week. Jumpstart your morning with Morning Rush, fast-paced news updates featured with uplifting stories from across the globe. Get your entertainment fix with Getting Real, where we break down movie reviews, top 10 lists, and spotlight the newest film. Die Hard fan? Locked On Sports dives deep into the Crimson Tide, the Tigers, college rivalries, and pro action. True crime warrior style? Killer Cases brings you gripping real-life stories that stick with you. Hungry for more? Cooking with Style serves up mouth-watering recipes that are easy to make and impossible to resist. From movie previews before you head to the theater with Take a Look, to must-know headlines from across the region and around the world with In the News. Watch all of these shows on demand and also on the Fox 54 News app, available on Android and iOS devices, streaming 24/7.
There's more to Fox 54 Plus with the Locked On Podcast Network. From the Tide to the Tigers, from college teams to pro, the Locked On Podcast Network gives you insights and analysis you just can't find anywhere else.
These kids, they want to play.
And I don't think so. I think it was Chad Baker-Mazzara.
Locked On Sports, streaming every day of the week and right here on Fox 54 Plus.
Your wife is in a bar. You said she's unresponsive.
This is what he's going to tell you. Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
Be the jury and to find the defendant.
I remember standing at the doorway to Polly's room.
Dylan is a coward. He hid behind a gun.
I gave it up. No.
Coleman's been investigating a probable serial killer.
He was claiming responsibility for the attacks on Thomas Moser.